Hi everyone, it's Ola Sulaiman and it's Friday already today. Thank you so much for joining me on this show. On today's show, I'd like to talk about the topics we've talked about in the last 4 weeks. So I'm just going over by answering questions. Now, in the last 4 weeks, we've talked about value added tax in UK, common mistakes that business owners make with their hello common mistake that they make with their value added tax. Also, I've talked about inheritance tax in UK, what happens to you when you die. Also, last week I talked about expenses you can claim when you have a business. So if you'd like to watch any of those videos, you can go to my YouTube channel. It's Ronzo's Accountants, and not just those last 4 weeks. I've got like almost, I think this is like 12 or 13th week now. It's more. I've got like 51 kind of videos on that YouTube channel, and it's full of tax advices that could help you to prevent situations for you in future. Now, if we've not met before, my name is Ola Sulaiman. Hello. My name is Ola Sulaiman. I'm a chartered accountant and a tax advisor. I have my own practice in Northampton where I advise businesses and individuals with their tax issues, helping them to pay as little tax as possible, the right amount of tax, ensuring that their account, their business is running effectively in a timely manner, and taking off the stress off them so that they can concentrate on other things, which is growing the business. Now, the reason why I've done this, or I've been doing this, is because a lot of people, they make a lot of mistakes because genuinely they did not know about it. And I hear this all the time, that if I knew about this, I would have done the right thing. However, if you don't know about it, nobody's going to tell you. And these days, what we do is we rely on our accountant, our tax advisor, things we read online. And at times, because we are all busy doing other things as well. And if we don't know about it, we don't know that we're supposed to tell you. So at least if you have an idea of what you're supposed to be asking your professional, your lawyer, your accountant, then you can ask them the right thing, and then they can advise you. So that's why this is just to create a bit of awareness. All my videos are to create an awareness for you to know the right thing to do. So that's the reason why I do. So this is kind of me giving back to the community. Now I've had loads of feedback in the past where people have said thank you. I've learned this because you've said this or that. I've been able to do this. I'm able to save tax by this. However, on today's show, I'm going to talk about so before I start, usually if you join me for the very first time, I usually like to talk about my week. And this week I thought about it when I was writing. I said this is what I'd like to talk about this week. Now in July I decided to take a challenge. I know if you've watched it before, you've heard this thousands of times, which is swimming and running to raise money for food bank and a foundation that deals with children. Now, it's apart from learning how to swim, I think I gained loads of other lessons from it. So I wrote down some of the lessons that I've learned from taking on that challenge, and I would just like to talk about it quickly before I go into the real tax talk. Now, the first one is it's never too late to try. Now, before August, the very first Tuesday, first one, that's when I went for my first swimming lessons. I didn't know how to swim at all. In fact, one of the days I went to swimming pool just before the Saturday before the first Tuesday, and I looked at people swimming. I was just like, oh my God, I'm not sure I can ever do this. This is too hard. This is going to be so hard. But I didn't give up, and I still went for it. So that's the first one. And that leads me to the second one, be a risk taker. I remember when I told my mother that I was going to go and learn how to swim, she was like, don't go and die, yo. And she was trying to make me nervous about it. And everyone was like, it's so hard to learn how to swim at a very old age and everything. So yeah, it was a risk for me, but there was a reason for me taking the risk. Be a risk taker, especially when you know the reason why you're doing it. Now, I think the third one is be someone that is happy to, I know everybody's different, be happy to give at all times. The reason why I went on the challenge at first was not just, it was for personal reason. I'm sure I'll have given up the third week. I'll have given myself reasons to not want to continue going. But I knew I had to keep going because I was trying to raise money for a purpose, and I had to just, I can't stop because I'm planning to get money to help other people. And in the long run, trying to help these other people, I've actually helped myself to gain a skill, which is swimming. I've helped myself to lose some weight from the swimming. So while you're trying to help someone, while you're trying to give, it helps you on the long run. That's what I'm trying to say. Now, another lesson I learned from this is the people that you keep around you matters a lot. Is it that they bring you down or they bring you up? Now, I have to say, she's disappeared now. Everyone in my swimming group were very, very, very nice. As in, they would say, "Oh, this is what you've done wrong. Oh, this is what you." Even my swimming instructor was fantastic. Even when I'm doing a very, very bad thing, she'd be like, "Oh, like you did very well, but you could do this. Oh, like you did it." So at the end of the day, the people at hand around me were helping. So even in business and in life generally, people that are around you, is that they bring you up or they bring you down. So that's another lesson as well. So people around you are very, very important. Another one is don't compare yourself to everyone. When I started the lesson, I had to keep asking everyone, like, when did you start swimming again? How long has it taken you? And most of them were telling me that, 6 months, 8 months. And that was the reason why they could do it very well. And when I was just coming less than 3 weeks, I actually wanted to do what they were doing immediately. Everyone's journey is different. So you have to actually respect your journey and respect when you started your own business, how you started, and move on with it. And then the last one is when it becomes hard, don't give up. Nobody said it was going to be easy. I know at times I go for the swimming lessons and my instructor like was swimming on the back, and I'll be doing it and there's water all over me. And at one point I was frustrated because, and even till now I'm still frustrated with my legs because I'm not doing it right. At times I get home, my body's aching and I'm just like, why are you doing this? At times I'm not even motivated to go on, but I just had to keep going because I knew I couldn't give up. And last Tuesday when I practiced the 390 meters for the very first time, when I did the first two, I was just like, should I just stop now? I'm too tired. But I kept going. I know I was going to 13 laps. And when I got to 8 laps, I started having cramps. I was like, oh my God, I can't stop now. This is 8 laps. I need 5 more to stop. And I kept going, as in I didn't stop. So in life, nothing is easy. We just have to keep pushing to be able to get the results. Am I happy now? Yes, I am, because I know that next week Sunday, not the Sunday, next week Sunday, I'll be able to do the challenge. And it's taken hard work. I've done several hours of practice, and in 12 weeks, I've learned how to swim using breaststroke. So thank you to everyone that have supported me so far. And that takes me to tax talk. How many minutes? 5 minutes, sorry. Ouch. So today I've made it in this kind of question and answer. And I've got questions on VAT. I've got some on inheritance tax. I've got some on expenses and returns and etc. So the first one for VAT is what is a VAT inspection? How does that happen? Why would you have someone investigating you? Why would they want to have inspection on you? Now, usually, in my own experience, it's something that's triggered. Something happened. The returns you submitted as a detail that made somebody be like, okay, that's it. We need to investigate this person. So the best thing to do is all the time when you're submitting returns, VAT returns, I say this all the time as well, make sure that the information you're trying to put in that returns is correct. Because if it's not correct, if it's looking so different from what you used to do, it's going to ring an alarm and somebody's going to pick up on it straight away, and then they would open an investigation on you. And that does not just mean VAT, it can be any part of the tax. And when they do, this is what I usually say, they won't just want to see one transaction, they want to see every single one of it. It has to be accurate, or else what they will do then is they will add it back to your returns if it's VAT returns, and then they will add penalty, or they will add interest, or then the money you're supposed to pay then becomes more. So this is how it happens. So that thing has triggered, somebody will call you and say, we want to come and investigate you. We need to see the details and the returns you've submitted. It can be just one return, it can be several returns. It can be 1 year, it can be several years. And they could open one for up to 6 years, but they would inform you. They will not just spring up on you and could knock your door and be like, we've come for investigation. They will give you time. So the case I've had recently is they've called because I'm the accountant, I've submitted the return. And they were like, oh, your name is on the return, you've submitted so for so company, would like to investigate what you've submitted. and then it comes to be like, okay, when is the good time for you to come? And then you both agree on the time. They'll ask for the situation around the office. Is it a home place? Is it a use of all? Is the office in a office building or is it in your house? So that they know where the inspector is coming. Now, the advice I would say is make sure, even if you've done something that is wrong, when the inspector comes, you need to put everything on the plate. They're not coming like a witch hunt that they're coming to they're coming to kill you or something. Now, this is very funny, and I'm just going to throw it out right now. At times when I come to office, I come most of the time feeling relaxed, t-shirt, my branded t-shirt, and I need office to be as relaxed as possible. So my last investigation was funny because I now went on trying to wear suits and dressing up, and then this woman turned up, and she was a young woman, and we started talking, and I started telling her all the things about this client, and at one point I had to tell her, I said, you know what, you're the reason why I'm wearing suit today. And she laughed and she said, oh, who's looking at what you're wearing? At the end of the day, the person coming is a human being. That's what I'm trying to say from that story. They want you to be truthful. Even if there's a mistake, even if you've done a mistake, your penalty will be 30%. However, when you're trying to hide, when you're trying to cover, or when you're trying to replace the receipt, or you're trying to hide somehow, your penalty could go up to 100%. So my advice is, as much as possible, even if there's a mistake, just lay everything down and let it be sorted rather than trying to wiggle your way out of it. So it's possible for investigation to happen. And that takes me to the next question. What happens if you've been running your business and you're just VAT registered? The reason probably because you've just reached the threshold, or you just feel like registering now. Now, when you register your business for the very first time, there's an advantage for you. Any asset that you've had before, like your computers, everything, laptops, furniture, fixtures, and anything that you've paid VAT on, that is, and you still have it, you're still using it for business at the time of registration, in the last 4 years, you can actually claim VAT on that. So let me say that again. Any item you've paid VAT for, you're still using it in your business, in the last 4 years, you can claim VAT on it. But you have to still have the receipts to show that it happened in the last 4 years. What would happen is, in your first VAT return, you put it in as if you've just done, it's just happened on the very first day of the registration. Now, for services, it's only services that has happened in the last 6 months, not previously, because obviously you won't have the, because the service has been done and gone. So let's say your telephone that you've been using at your workplace or your business for the last 6 months, you can then claim that on the first day of VAT registration. So that's it. Now, so that's an advantage kind of. So yeah, it's like your first VAT return, you're paying less because you're trying to claim on things. Disadvantage of that is, if you ever decide to close your business, then you then need to pay the VAT you claim back. I just had to put that out there. Now, what happens if there's an error? So that's the next question on VAT. I've submitted my VAT return and there's a mistake in my VAT return. What can I do? Now, everybody makes errors. Everybody makes mistakes. Even the accountants, they do. Because they are human beings, we are all human beings. Now, when that happens, you have two choices. First of all, depending on your situation, if you meet some certain conditions, you can calculate the mistakes. Probably you've claimed too much or you've not claimed enough. You can adjust it in your next return if you meet certain conditions. And the first one is the amount that you're trying to claim, that you're trying to correct, is less than £10,000. The VAT that is involved, either plus or minus, is less than £10,000. Number two is it's not more than 1% of your turnover. The highest you can do is 50,000 thereabouts. So with that one, you can adjust your return. And then the error is not a careless one. You've not done it on purpose. It's probably because of a changing of accounting or something has happened, but you've not done it on purpose. It's below the threshold. It's not careless and it's not deliberate. Okay, and it's less than 4 years. I almost forgot that. That error has happened in less than 4 years. Then you can correct it in your next return, rather than just saying I'm not going to do anything about it. Because when you do that, like I said, it's just a bell that will trigger everything, and all of a sudden you've got yourself an investigation and someone is trying to see your return from 4 years ago, and then you can't prove and that error can be anything. You've classified it wrongly. You've claimed 5% rather than 20%. Any error is any error. However, if it's more than that, you'd have to fill a form 652 and send it to VAT correction team. You calculate the amount of the error you're trying to claim, and then you send it to them. If it's something that looks like it's a careless error, it's someone trying to reduce their VAT for some strange reason, and then what happens is they might have to charge a penalty for submitting the wrong error, which is about 30% of the amount that is due. So let's say the difference is £1,000. You'd have to pay a £300 penalty for doing that wrongly. However, you don't have to always correct your error using your last return. You can decide to fill the form too, even though you've met all the conditions. So, but the advice here is, if there's an error, if you've seen that someone has done an error in your returns, in your account, please do something about it straight away. Now, the last question on VAT is, can I claim VAT on all my transactions, even my personal transaction, even though it's not business related? Now, I know a lot of people do that. We do. And the reason is because all of a sudden you have a means of collecting VAT back on things that you pay on. Nobody likes paying VAT, because rather than you paying £100, you're paying £120. That £20 could buy you pizza or something. However, the purpose of VAT is not to punish. No, I'm sorry, I didn't use the word punish. It's not for the burden to be felt by the business owner. The business owner itself is just like an agent for HMRC collecting money. So then, when you're supposed to have the burden of the VAT, is not trying to hide under the business, you're doing something very wrong. The reason why you register for VAT in the very first place is because you're running a business. That's one of the conditions. You must be running a business. You can't just feel like registering for VAT and then register for VAT, or else all of us will be VAT registered, because nobody wants to pay for VAT. So because of that, you can't just decide that I've paid for this, I'm claiming the VAT, I'll just add the receipt to my receipt. Yes, you can get away with it. However, like I said at first, in case it rings a bell, in case someone is trying to investigate you, and then they see it there, and that's when the issue happens. A very good example of that is when we pay petrol in our personal cars, and then we're trying to claim everything on business. And that's very, very common. We all do it from time to time, but most likely an inspector would disallow it, because it's not 100% related to business, except if it's a business car or a van, 100% all the time for business. So any transaction that is related to your personal life, you don't go on and try and claim it on business, because it's not related for business. The reason why you're allowed to claim that VAT is because you're trying to run a business, to create more, because at the end of the day, when your business is growing and then you have a higher turnover, HMRC is still going to get some of the money you're gaining by paying corporation tax or paying income tax. So they know about this, that this business you run is going to bring them money somehow. So let's give this person a relief, apart from the fact that this person is helping us to run our business. Okay, now that brings me to common questions. I know most of us might know all these common questions, but I'll just quickly say it. For example, when do I have to register for VAT compulsorily if you've reached the threshold of 3,000, or if you just feel like registering, voluntary registration? What are the different rates of VAT? There's 20% for the standard rate. Most of the things we pay for are 20%. There's 5% for reduced rates, and then there's 0% for zero rated items. So it depends on what you're selling. Some people would, like when we go to supermarkets, they have different types that they will sell, while some people just sell standard rates. For example, a very good one is biscuits. Ordinary biscuit without chocolate is zero rated, and then biscuit with chocolate on top is standard rated. So imagine the supermarket with different type of things that they're selling. So you have to ensure that you're charging the right amount of VAT. Electricity is 5%, gas is 5%. So we have to ensure that whatever you're trying to claim VAT on, charge VAT on is the same, it's the right amount. Let's say you're doing your VAT returns now and you've paid for electricity. You don't go and start claiming 20% because the VAT itself is 5%. And that's why they want you to keep your receipts. They want you to keep your invoice because all these are going to be proof that you would use. Okay? And that takes me to inheritance tax questions. I'll go to expenses question first. Inheritance tax questions. You've got my inheritance tax questions. Alright, she's not getting what I'm saying. Expenses. Someone asked me today, like, my friend is paying a lower tax. You've got the, sorry, 1 second, everybody, sorry. Inheritance question is with you. Inheritance tax questions.
Yes, I forgot.
Okay, I'll go on. My friend is paying a lower tax. I'll just go to the last video. He's paying a lower tax. Sorry, guys. I thought I wrote it down somewhere. And this guy said, oh, my friend is earning loads more than me, and then my friend is paying lower tax. What have you done to my returns? And what I've told this person is, all of us, if you're running a company, we're all expected to pay tax at the same rate, depending on what level you are. So if you're a sole trader, you're under income tax. You either pay at 20%, or you pay at 40%, or you pay at 45%. Now, if you're with that, or if you're a limited company, you pay at 19%. Or if you earn less than 0 and then you are a sole trader, less than 12,500 now, you don't pay tax. Now, if you have now earned the same amount, you've done the same things, and then your friend is not paying the same rate that you are paying, it's two things, and this is what I usually say. You need to ask your friend what they're doing. And that's what it comes down to. Because if they've earned that amount, let's say a £50,000, or let's say 10,000 is easy, they should actually have paid 1,900 as tax. And then if they end up not paying any amount, what's happened is they've claimed expenses. So maybe your friend has more expenses than you do. Maybe they're claiming things that has not actually happened. And people like that would not actually tell you what they've really done. At times, even your professional, your accountants, your advisors, they'll help you and so that you pay a lower tax. But this is usually my advice. On the long run, it's your company. On the long run, it's your business, it's your personal tax. And if it's not done properly, they're coming for you rather than that person. And then if you say, oh, who's going to catch me? Nobody's going to. HMRC has said we'll do random checks at every times. And like I usually say, something that will trigger something. Your friend might even get away with it. What about if you're the person that is going to be picked up and then they want to say everything you've done and then you've done something wrong, you've evaded tax. Depending on how much you've gone, I don't know. I don't think having tax problem is one of the problems you want to have in your life, because I tell you, when it happens, they come hard on you. And it was in the news this week that some people died because they were being investigated and everything. And it seems as if it's extreme, but I've actually, in my own real lifetime, while working elsewhere, seen someone made bankrupt because their VAT returns for 6 years was done wrongly. And it wasn't the accountant that was made bankrupt, it was this guy that was made bankrupt. So because of that, at the end of the day, you don't want such headaches to happen to you on the long run. So next one then is, can I claim overseas travel expenses? Now, if your business involves you traveling about, why not? What I usually say is every expenses that is wholly exclusive for your business, then you can claim. The only thing is, so let's say you're going to America for business. You literally have to travel from UK, where I live now, to America. You can't decide to stop in Canada for holiday in between and then try to claim travel to America. I don't know how to say that in a very easier way. it has to be extremely totally for business. Or let's say you've gone to America for a business, and then all of a sudden after a business you want to spend 1 week after for holiday. You've literally disqualified that travel. So you have to ensure that that travel is solely exclusive for the business. Another mistake that people do is, even though they're traveling for business, and then the ticket, then they add their family, their wives, their children. As soon as you've done that, that's not a travel. That's not a business travel. It's an holiday, because all your family are, except if your wife is also a director and you're both going for that business travel. So I've submitted an incorrect return. How can I correct it? Now, if you're within 1 year after the year end of the accounting period you're trying to submit, you can actually amend the returns yourself quickly. You can submit an amended return. In that amended return, you change everything that you need to change. And by doing that, you've corrected your error. HMRC has not picked up on it yet, so nobody can penalize you. You're allowed to change your return 1 year after you've submitted your return. Within 1 year that you submit, within 1 year of your year end, that's what I'm trying to say. Within 1 year of your year end. I've paid too much tax in previous years. All of a sudden you're realizing that, oh, I should have claimed this, I should have claimed that, I should have claimed. If you meet certain conditions, you can actually go back and claim that money back from HMRC. You literally have to write them and say, this is my situation, I'd like to claim this money back. And if you meet the conditions, then you can claim it. If you'd like to read on that, I've got a blog on that on my website, claiming expenses while it's gone. Finally, I've got my inheritance question. Who decides how much you pay? Now, on the weeks of inheritance tax, I talked about while we're alive, we pay inheritance tax. When we die, we pay inheritance tax. Now, the common notion is you only pay inheritance tax when you're dead. I think the reason is because that is when it's compulsory for you to, because all of a sudden somebody's looking at all your estates. The question Mother asked earlier was, what happens, because when I was doing the inheritance tax videos, I said there was some reliefs you could claim to reduce your inheritance tax, and she now said, how would you know that you've paid for your child's wedding £5,000, or you've gifted to charities, or how do you know what you've done in the last years? Because I now said, okay, it's very, very simple. Let's say someone dies now, and then the husband would have to, or the person in charge of the estate would have to add up everything all together. They would have to submit if they're self-employed, they have to submit last return to HMRC. They have to deal with the inheritance tax issues. Now, because the inheritance tax is 40%, all of a sudden, you would remember every single thing you've done. Now, anything you've gifted in the last 7 years before death, you don't need to worry about it. That would not help to that would not help to reduce your inheritance tax. However, anything that you've gifted within the last 7 years, you can actually use it to reduce your inheritance tax. That's what I'm trying to say. So there will be, let's say you've gifted your children for wedding, you'll be able to use this to reduce your estate because you've gifted that amount within the last 5 years. If you've given money to charity while you're dead or after you die, you can use it to reduce as well. And we said, how can you make this easy? I think the best way, and I'm not sure even if I want to advise on this, but this is just general. I'm just putting this outside. I think the best way is to have a will, because a will will have everything that you have in. We'll have someone that will say, this is how all the things I have. This is what I'm passing to my husband. Because as soon as you die, if you don't have a will, everything goes to your husband. They don't need to worry about inheritance tax. If everything goes to your husband, it's only the ones that go to other people, your family, your children, the charity. But still, there still needs to be an inheritance tax done, showing that everything has been passed to your husband, nothing has been given out elsewhere. So it's still part of planning and making sure that your tax is reduced while you're alive, and your tax is reduced when you die. The only question I would say is, what happens Why do you pay inheritance tax while you're alive? The only time you pay inheritance tax when you're alive is when you're trying to gift some of the things in your estate to a trust that you set up for beneficiary, for probably your grandchildren, or any trust. So while you're alive, you either pay 20% or 25% on that trust. I think it's 12:30 now. So basically what I've tried to do today is to go over all the tax issues I've talked about in the last 4 weeks. I think this show has been going on for, I can't remember now, but a long time. I'm going to take a week off next week for some personal reasons. But the week after, I'll be starting again with fresh ones, probably getting ready for Christmas and all that. However, that week that I come, I've actually got an announcement to make. Probably you'll have seen it before then as well, but I'm very excited about this. It's something that actually I wouldn't even believe that would happen. So I am very, very excited. So thank you so much for joining me today. And if you're watching the recorded one, if you have any questions, if you feel like I've triggered light bulb, you've had light bulb moments, I'd like to know more, you can send me an email on info@ronzosaccountants.co.uk. I wish you a very fantastic weekend. My name is Ola Sulaiman. Thank you.